Good morning, I'm Millie. I'm a British woman married to a Chinese man living in Australia, and today I wanted to answer a question. What country do we want to raise our future children in? I also don't really like filming videos where I'm just sat talking to the camera. I just feel like kind of boring to watch. So today I'm going to take you on a walk in Australia. It's not very exciting, but it's more interesting than staring at my face for 10 minutes. So let's go. If I want to answer this question properly, my answer is in two parts. Part one is from birth to the age they start school, and then part two is school-aged. I first want to talk about where I want to raise my children from birth to school age, because honestly, that one's much harder to answer. The hardest internal debate I have is where I will give birth, because it's all about my own comfort. If I give birth in the UK, I'll have my family nearby and I can give birth in a place where I can easily find a hospital that is free, where I can speak English, and the birth will be easy enough for me to express my desires. However, in the UK, after a woman gives birth, she's sent home very quickly. My mum gave birth to me quite a while ago, but she said when she gave birth to me, her first child, she went home in about a day. I just don't think that's enough time to physically recover to get home, let alone being sent home with a baby. Just bye, good luck. On the other hand, I don't know enough about giving birth in China to say what would be right for me. I want to have a completely natural birth, no medication, the baby would not be taken from my sight, not cleaned, all of this stuff, which is growing more common in places like the UK and America, but I don't know if it's normal in China or not. The major thing making me lean towards giving birth in China, however, would be a postpartum recovery center. I've seen people do postpartum recovery at home and in these recovery centers, and it looks amazing. Compared to postpartum care in the UK, it is completely different, and I definitely would want to be able to experience that kind of care. But if I was to do something like that in the UK, it would cost a small fortune. At this point in time, I don't really have either one I'm leaning towards. Potentially, I'm leaning more towards giving birth in China so I can have the care I need after I give birth. But from birth to about 4 or 5 years, we'd stay in the same place, whichever country that may be. Now to think about where I'd want my children to go to school. This is something my husband and I have talked about a lot recently since we're leaving Australia, and we want to think about where we're going to buy a house, settle down, things like that. I do not want my children to be teenagers in the UK. I'm sure everybody has seen news articles talking about British teenagers, and as somebody who went to school in the UK, I know exactly the kind of person they're talking about, especially because I knew a lot of them. My husband saw a video of some kids in China doing a funny dance in their classroom, and he showed it to me as a joke and said, "Oh, would you want our kids to be like this?" And I just thought, yeah, if it keeps them off the streets, if it keeps them safe, absolutely I want our kids to be like that. Safety for children, or anyone in general, inside of UK cities is not great. But if we were to live somewhere more rural, the opportunities are not very good. And honestly, as somebody who grew up somewhere like that, it's very boring to be a teenager. So if it was up to me entirely, I would raise my children through their school years, at least elementary and middle school, in China. I want them to have a good handle on the language and culture, have good morals implemented in them, and then maybe they can decide to go to the UK for high school or university if they so desire. Unfortunately, this is just one of those questions that doesn't have a proper answer. There's so many options that it's kind of overwhelming even thinking about it, especially as we don't even have a child right now. As we get closer to that point in our lives, we'll probably come up with an answer, but I don't think I'll talk about it publicly until I give birth and I'm suddenly in China or the UK, or our kids are at school and we're saying, oh, our kids' first day at British school or our kids' first day at Chinese school. Either way, I'm sure they will come out being interesting children with good skills in Chinese and English, and honestly, I can't ask for much else. If you are also somebody who has the option to raise your kids either inside or outside of China, please let me know your thoughts and opinions, and also which one you would pick if you were in my shoes. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and I will see you next weekend with a new video.